the psychological realm, everyone's going to measure themselves differently because everyone values things differently. Mm-hmm. Some people value success or significance. Some people value love more. Some value just basic levels of certainty. So when I look at the specific metrics, I really look at metrics of what are the things that need to be measured to know if your life is going to work or not. So I look at it as our whole lives are guided moment to moment by the state we're in. Mm-hmm. Learning how to change your state, not bullshit, not fake, but to go from pissed off, frustrated, freaked out to back in your center or creative or determined or something that's going to move you forward. It's going to create a better quality of life for you and others. That's a critical skill set. People think they want to get rich by doing this big hit. Look at all the actors, all the athletes, all the movie stars that you've seen that made more money than God and now they're bankrupt because they made money and income working, but they never figured out how to make money work for them while they slept. They never made money their slave. So if you look at like 50 Cent, he made $100 million on vitamin water. Someone gave him a tip and he went bankrupt. Or right now, I don't know if it's really gonna happen, but the newspapers are speculating now, Johnny Depp is going through this divorce. He made $750 million, $750 million, and they're saying he may go bankrupt now because he's gonna have to give up half in his cash position, and he spends $30,000 a month on wine, and he took Hunter Thompson, the reporter, and burned his body and paid $3 million to blow his ashes into the atmosphere. So you can mess up no matter what you do, or you can take a small amount of money and just consistently invest it, and you'll get where you want to be financially. Failure is part of life. I mean, the difference for me though is I look at failure as a stepping stone to success. It's a speed bump. I know I'm gonna fail, but it's not failure if you learn something. And so, gosh, I've made so many mistakes, I've screwed so many things up, but every time I do, it becomes a way for me to explain to someone else what it takes. It's like, here's what I've done. I think I have the ability to influence people because I talk about my failures. I talk about all the things that messed me up, but I show people that I didn't let it stop me, and you don't let it stop you. And I think that's really the secret matter.
And if everything you touch was successful, you probably won't be able to relate to people as much.
No, you'll be able to relate, and also it's be total bullshit, and everyone knows it's bullshit. And also you'd be bored silly. Right. I mean, think about it. If you just said, I want this and happen, I want this and happen, people don't value what they don't fight for. It's like you see kids sometimes, your parents will say, you're not gonna value this if you don't work for it. And your kid going, I'll value it, just give it to me, right? But it's true. Yeah. The things we've worked the hardest for, we value the most. So I think, the purpose of a goal is not getting it anyway. The purpose of a goal, is who you become. Who you become is going to make you happy or it's going to make you sad. Yeah. So I'm not looking for an effortless approach. Sure. There's no such thing.
One thing I will say is I was grandly ambitious. I always said, I'm going to be rich, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Always, since the time I was a little kid, but I didn't have the drive to see it through. So I really, really was an empty dreamer when I was a kid, and it was learning to hate that in myself, if I'm completely honest.
Yes.
And to not allow myself to be an empty dreamer, to force myself to get the skills to actually execute against it, to not be in any way, shape, or form pacified by saying I'm gonna do something, which is actually super dangerous. Most people just thinking about the fantasy of what they're gonna do gives them some partial sense of, oh, I've done it. Whereas I stopped letting that be okay for me, which largely came down to embarrassment I felt around my wife working when I had no job. And that was the time, she was my fiance at the time, but that was when I really started to go, okay, you've made a lot of promises to this woman and you're not on a path to keep any of them.
Very driven person, so I wasn't gonna let this defeat me because the alternative was losing hope and becoming suicidal, and I wasn't gonna let that happen. Also, I knew I had another book that I really, really wanted to write, so I had to keep living. And I was in a coma for a while and things were a little bit touch and go during that. And I feel like there was something willed inside of me unconsciously that kept me alive. The other weird thing is I spent a lot of my time alone, swimming, hiking, writing. It just so happened, just by coincidence, that I was driving when my wife was there. And so I have a feeling that I kind of almost was ready to have my stroke once she was there. I can't say that for sure. These are, weird kind of psychic, almost kind of thoughts. But I felt like there was some willpower in me that was keeping me alive so I could keep going. But the main lesson was it's been a struggle. I can't say it's been easy. I can't like lie and say I've just figured it all out and I'm this incredible superhuman being. I've had moments where I've cried. I've had moments where I felt like giving up. It's like a daily struggle. And other people, you know, I know a lot of people in this world suffer. They have it a lot worse than I do. I have a comfortable life. I have a lot of money. I have my books, etc. But on the level of like my body, just every day has been a struggle. You know, I wake up, can I walk? Will I fall? Can I hold this in my hand? It's so dependent on other people. I'm a very independent person. So I've had to really work on myself and really develop a lot of patience, which I don't have. And the thing is, when you get an illness like this or something happens like that, the natural thing is just to sort of wait it out and wait until your body recovers. And people said I would have a full recovery 2 years down the line or so. So the tendency would be just to let it go and let time take its healing process. But I wouldn't let that. I don't know why, but I was like, no, I'm gonna work out every single day. I'm gonna do therapy 2 or 3 hours a day. I bought a special bicycle because I can't do a normal bicycle. It's a recumbent bike where you sit down. Man, it's like the hardest thing. You have to get up these incredible hills and like 80-year-old grandmothers are whizzing by me on their bicycle.
This is outdoors.
Outdoors in Griffith Park, yeah.
Wow.
But I'm just determined to beat the thing. And sometimes it beats me, so every day it's like a battle, you know, it's like a boxing match, who's gonna win? But I'm not gonna give up, I just keep trying. I'm going to see a new therapist, I'm working on new exercises, I'm working on different parts of my body, I'm trying to build strength in certain muscles so I can start walking normally. Because as you know, working out, swimming and hiking and bicycling, that was like my main way of de-stressing. I loved it. I loved being out in nature. I loved being alone with my thoughts. And to have that ripped away, it was like having, you know, part of your whole body taken away from you. So, you know, I'm pretty relentless. That's my lesson. I didn't give up.
I learned this from you know, a woman CEO years ago, to actually carry with you all the time, and I have it right here. If I don't have my big notebook, I carry a small one with me. Paper, just paper. And what I've got in here are notes. And I carry a pen with me all the time. I love to collect pens. This is a new Egyptian Mont Blanc. When something hits me, wherever I am, I remember to write it down. And the reason I do that is I build a priority set that I put down each night. And out of all the priorities of the day, I carry 3 into the next day. Because you can even see, here's a day, you can see the bunch of stuff has been, a bunch of priorities there, but I've basically done them, I got them done. But this idea of prioritizing ends up being a really big deal. So that's attribute number 1. Politicians, teachers, generals, CEOs, they build a data set in their heads of things they've got to get done. And they don't do anything else until they've achieved those. For me, it's a sticky note on the mirror each night. I've talked about this countless times. And I don't do anything else till I get those 3 done. And they're built from the list that I generate during the day. So definitely for all successful people, regardless of what their discipline is, that idea of priority really matters.
Don't settle. Just don't settle. You don't think that you're at the peak of what you were meant to do. because you probably don't know unless you try. And so for most people, I feel like just don't settle, because I think we just give in too early, and don't settle for service, right? It's like, that's the reason, that's the intention. It's like service is the one that's pulling you along. And so don't settle for service. The world needs service. The world needs your service. The world needs your genius. The world needs your passion. And you just don't know it yet. And the day you realize it, you'll be grateful that you went the whole way. As I know, I feel, I look back and I'm just like, God, like I would have just been sitting there working in a corporate job and not known all the people I know now and connected with this amazing community and met you. I just wouldn't have had it. And so if I didn't go for it, if I just settled that my service was this. So don't settle for service. Service deserves the best of you.
Listen to this. I'm happy if I can take care of my family. That is selfish, man. There's 7 billion people on this planet. All different colors, different religions, different ages, different problems. They got places on this planet where you can't get a bottle of water, okay? Yeah. But the guy that's in London right now thinking, hey, I got my flat paid for, and I got my 2 cars paid for, and I got a good job, and yes, me and my wife are having some problems, and the kid's smoking too much weed, but you know, things are pretty good. You're a selfish bastard is what you are. Because what you could be doing is putting another hour in early in the morning, another one at night, taking more risks, growing something, maybe even disrupting your business in your industry, build a freaking mega billion-dollar business, leave a legacy and put hospitals and schools in place and really make a difference.